I did witchcraft on my sister's baby and now everything is out of control. When I heard this story, insane. And the fact that it's coming from the point of view of someone who did the bad thing, I don't even know how to warn you about this. Obviously from the title, something really bad happens to a baby. So if you're very sensitive to listening to those kind of stories, then you might want to skip this one. Swipe away right now. So this story was submitted to a Spanish TikTok page called Perro Macabro. The person was anonymous but ensures that everything that she's about to say is real. So she says that everything started when she got her very first boyfriend named Julian. She had never been in a relationship before this, so when she did meet him, she fell very deeply in love with him. She said that they would always go on dates, they would have dinner together, they would go to the movies, and they would also talk about their future together. With time, he became her confidant, her best friend, and she would tell him everything. By this point, they had been dating for a year, and she said that she would always catch herself daydreaming of like their wedding day. And yes, they both had talked about getting married one day. She said that she would always talk about him to her coworkers, to her friends, but for some reason she hesitated when it came to her family. She herself was an introvert, but her sister was not, so she was scared of introducing them and having her sister say something that would make them uncomfortable or awkward. As time went on though, Julian would insist on meeting her parents and her sister because he knew that this relationship was getting serious. So she indeed invited him over for dinner with her family. Julian and her sister actually got along very well. She said that they would laugh together, they had a lot in common, and while they were in the living room talking about things, she was in the kitchen trying to help her mom clean up after dinner. Although it seemed a little weird that they were getting along too well, she just thought that maybe her sister was really happy for her and was making the effort of getting along with her boyfriend. The next couple of weeks, she noticed that Julian would visit her home very frequently when she wasn't even there. And he always had weird excuses to give her. For example, he lost his wallet, that he needed to ask her mom something, that he wanted to borrow a book. At first she thought it was weird, but then she was like, wait, he's probably trying to get really close to my family. Maybe he's gonna pop the question and he's asking them for permission. So she was just excited that he was seeing her family even when she wasn't home. However, one day everything changed. At work, her boss had asked her to stay late. She agreed, but then he changed his mind and asked her if she wanted to go home early, and she said yes. And all of this, Julian knew that she was gonna stay late for work because she had texted him saying, hey, I can't see you this day, I'm gonna stay in late. But he didn't know that plans changed and she was getting out of work early. When she got home, the first thing that she saw was Julian's car parked outside her house. At first she was really excited and she was like, oh my gosh, he made the effort to come see me. But then she was like, wait, I never told him that I was getting out of work early. Her parents were also out for the week because they went on a vacation. When she entered the house, she said that her heart started beating really fast. She started to hear weird sounds coming from her bedroom, and when she opened the door, she found both her sister and Julian on her bed. She explains how her sister looked at her like with no guilt, and that Julian literally covered himself from head to toe under the blanket. She doesn't remember how long she was standing there crying and screaming before she just turned around and left the house. Her sister had betrayed her and ruined the only relationship she had ever had in life with someone who she truly loved. And the guy who she was deeply in love with turned out to be a liar and a cheater. For months, she kept to herself. She even quit her job so that Julian wouldn't find her, and she kind of stopped talking to her family as well. She thought that with time her heart would heal until she found out about something that just broke her all over again. Julian and her sister got married and they were expecting a baby. She says she felt like someone had just gone into her chest and ripped out her heart, and the anger just kept growing and growing. And a part of her wanted to make them pay for ruining her life. That is when she made a decision and made a plan. She went ahead and went to her parents' home and she pretended to forgive them. She told them that she just wanted to repair the relationship with her family and didn't want to be mad at them, and she forgave them. To her surprise, her sister welcomed her with open arms. That's also the same day that she noticed her pregnant belly as well. Her sister genuinely looked like she was happy to have her in her life again. However, she says that even though she was smiling in their faces, in the back of her head she was ready to get her revenge. She decided to reach out to some people who could help her with her plan, and says that before all this she would have never ever done this. She decided to resort to witchcraft, and she went to somebody that with enough money would do some of the darkest witchcraft she could ever imagine. She says that this person only asked her for two things, which was a little bit of her own blood and an object that belonged to her sister. She ends up taking a necklace that belonged to her sister since she was a child, and she put a little bit of her blood inside a vial and gave it to the person. She gives us examples of what exactly the witch did, but I don't want to share that. So basically basically the witch mixed everything together with something else. The witch then recited some words that she didn't even understand. After the witch finished, she looked at her and said, "It's been completed and there's no going back." At first, she didn't believe that the witchcraft had actually worked, but then when her sister gave birth, she got really sick. She would get really high fevers, and she would start hallucinating at nighttime, and she would wake up with bruising or like really black marks all over her body. She then also started puking this black liquid. One time she ended up looking at that black vomit, and she swears that there was like spiders and bugs in it. It was almost as if she was rotting from the inside out. Many nights her sister would call her asking her for help, saying that there was black shadows in her room just laughing at her. She would pretend to help her, but on the inside she was laughing that her sister was going through this. But the truly sinister thing happened afterwards, when one day her family called her crying because they had found her sister in the baby's room peeling off the little baby's nails. Julian was the one who separated her from the baby, and she started screaming, saying, "No, let me do it. The guy in the room said that if I didn't, he would kill the baby." By that point, her sister had confessed to her that at nighttime she would see a man at the end of her bed with the head of a goat who would tell her to do things, if not, he would the baby. Things escalated when she went to go visit because she noticed that the baby had bruises all over its body. She even saw a handprint around the baby's neck. Even Julian was desperate and would ask her for help, and she would pretend to help, but on the inside she was still happy. She was getting her revenge and she wasn't sorry about it. So the days turned into weeks, the weeks turned into months, and every time she would visit, that baby would get worse and worse. At this point, the baby wouldn't stop crying. Since she saw that, she decided that she was going to stay in her sister's house to help her with the baby. The worst episode happened one night when she heard a really loud scream and ran towards the baby's room. When she enters the room, she says that she saw a scene that she will never forget. The baby was on the ground, unconscious, full of dirt and like some substance all over. She had more bruises than when she had put her to sleep, and there was a lot of weird marks all over the baby's leg. Her sister was also on her knees next to the child and was saying some weird things with a really rough tone that she says she didn't even understand. Almost as if she had just completely gone crazy, like it was no longer her sister anymore. It was in that moment, looking at that scene in front of her, where she finally realized that she fucked up. She came to the realization that this baby had no fault in anything that her sister and her ex did to her. Her revenge fell on the only innocent person in this story. It was in that moment where she left, went to the witch, and begged her to reverse the witchcraft that she did. That is when the witch tells her that in order to break this pact, someone else would have to be sacrificed. She said that she looked at the witch knowing that she would have to be the sacrifice and that there would be no happy ending to anyone's story involved. And that is how it ended. So, I mean, she didn't sacrifice herself, and I could only imagine how much worse it got for the sister and the baby. I know there's people that don't believe in this stuff, which is completely fine, but I personally believe in witchcraft, and that shit is insane. I also feel like either way, she's gonna get karma. She's gonna get what's coming to her for doing this. But anyway, what do you guys think?